Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the final of my jabberings and witterings, episode for 2024. The new year is barreling down the road at us, and I hope that you all have a wonderful time over the next few days, and that I will see you on the 2nd. So I thought I'd do one of those review things that they do at the end of the year about stuff that it's worth popping your peepers on, having a gaze. You know, not that kind of gaze, a gaze, you know. Ooh, we'll give this a bit of a go. Get your peepers on the screen. So we'll have a look at a few things that I think it's worth having a bit of a wallow in. They won't be for everybody. You've been warned, right? But I won't see you now to the 2nd, so have a lovely New Year's Eve, Happy New Year, everything else that everybody says when we carry out this execrable nonsense. So to begin with, we'll start, I suppose, with something that's quite fun. So this is quite fun. I quite enjoyed this year, and I'm sure that you may well have too. And that is Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, I love a bit of Marvel. Most people seem to think they've lost the plot. I do too. The vast majority of the stuff that's come out of Marvel since the end of the Avengers has been rubbish. Let's be completely honest. And then along comes Deadpool and Wolverine to prove me completely wrong. Right? Now, for those of you warrior teachers, take note, of a nervous disposition who are put off by gratuitous violence and gore, this ain't for you. Back to Lark Rise to Candleford, or call the bloody midwife for you lot, right? So Deadpool, Wolverine, it's hilarious, right? It's got a great little tale to it as well, but it's just so funny. And not only that, it gets woke and it absolutely ridicules it with real force and power. So I'm going to give that my first shout for you today is, if you haven't seen it yet, I would say Deadpool and Wolverine, not for the pearl clutching, gory lot that you won't like it. You'll hate it, in fact. All right? That's the first one, Deadpool and Wolverine. Let's continue in that vein. Action adventure, lots of excitement, and we'll go to Furiosa from George Miller, which was just tremendous. I enjoyed this far more than I expected to. It does have Chris Helmsworth in it. Is it Helmsworth or the other one? I forget. The one that was in Ghostbusters. Can't remember his name. Chris Summond. He's beautiful. Anyway, but it's brilliant. It's utterly brilliant. This is the guy that made this, George Miller. He's like in his 80s, I think. And it's an extraordinary piece of cinema, which is full of excitement, full of fantastic photography. But again, can be quite violent. I tend to like violent things. Although it's very female-centered. Its main character is Furiosa, and she's a remarkable character. And really, it's a fantastic follow-up to Mad Max Fury Road, which was the last one that George Miller made. So there's my next recommendation for you. Go and watch Furiosa, okay? I'm keeping it simple, folks. Let's have another one. Right, okay, so now we're going to the world of televisuals rather than the filmic. And I'll pull you towards Fallout, which was on Amazon Prime. Now, for gamers, you'll know what I'm talking about, because you haven't lived till you shot a super mutant with VATS. Click, click. Right? You haven't lived. Fallout, a game available on most gaming platforms. It's incredibly popular. Has now been made into a TV series by Amazon Prime, and it's glorious. I wasn't expecting anything. You know what it's like these days. It's anti-woke again. It doesn't like the woke message very much at all. But also, it's beautiful to watch. It's so brilliantly put together. It looks exactly like the game. But once more, a warning to the pearl clutchers, like Furiosa and like Deadpool and Wolverine, it gets grim, so be ready for it. But it really captures the game so tremendously. And even people who aren't fans of the game or have never played the game, I know really enjoyed this. Particularly one of my friends who rang me up to say she couldn't believe she did. But it's such good fun, and it's so crackers and so over the top. It's hard not to enjoy it. Okay, so that's number 3. That is 3, isn't it? That's right. Okay, let's go for something a wee bit more serious. Now, this came out earlier this year, and it sort of sneaked out, and I think it passed a lot of the British audience by, and I don't know why. It's a rather clever film, and it's called Civil War, as you can see. Civil War. Now, people went into this. I had mates of mine who came out and rang me after, because I said, this is brilliant, you've got to see this. And mates of mine came afterwards and said, well, there wasn't much war in it, was there? I was like, are you thick? It's not about war, even though it takes place in a war. But it's very, very interesting to us as people who are involved in the fight, which is to a great degree about meaning and about knowledge and understanding. It's about journalistic integrity. And that's what makes it fascinating to me. Should you take that photograph? What should you do? Journalistic integrity. The idea that a journalist catalogues, a journalist captures, and a journalist sends that information out. It really asks an awful lot of questions about the morality of being a journalist and also the morality of how journalists work in the modern day. It's a very clever film indeed. So I strongly recommend Civil War. Again, it can be a bit gory. Sorry about that. It's the real world. What now? So that's Civil War. Now, let's go for something which is like a documentary type true thing, a history thing from the BBC iPlayer. We have Bombing Brighton, the plot to kill Thatcher. This is fascinating. To people who are new to it, it's fascinating to understand the players involved and exactly what it was that happened. And to those of us that remember it, it's fascinating to revisit. And also with some commentary in it from now, in hindsight. It's a brilliantly made documentary. It comes from the BBC. I hate pushing them because you know what they're like with gender, but comes from the BBC, and that's called Bombing Brighton, the plot to kill Thatcher. It's available on iPlayer. Strongly recommended. Let's continue once more with the Bubba, who also released quite recently, I think it's only about maybe 8 weeks ago it came out, the second part of Wolf Hall, which is called The Mirror and the Light. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Binged all 6 episodes through the night. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The acting in this is absolutely superb, as are the political machinations around the latter half of the time of the court of King Henry VIII, essentially taking in his activities with Thomas, who was his advisor there. His advisor, you see the picture there, played by Ryland, superb actor, Mark Ryland. And Wolf Hall, both parts, because there's a part 1 too, make up 12 episodes in total. But Wolf Hall, if you've never seen either of them, I suggest you start at the beginning. Really, really enriching, really good to watch, except one small caveat. They couldn't help themselves, could they? Why? How can his sister be an Asian nun? Why do they do that? They just insert something out for no reason. You know what I mean? And then they've got a black handmaiden with an afro. It's Tudor Britain. It's utterly deranged. I don't care if Fallout, Civil War, Wolverine, stick him in who you like. Nobody gives a damn. It doesn't quite work when you're trying to recreate history. They didn't do it in the first part, they did it in the second. And I felt it pulled me out of the narrative a bit. But you let me know if you watch it. Wolf Hall, terribly good. The Mirror and the Light. That leaves us with only a couple to go. So here's my next recommendation. It's called The 3-Body Problem, and it was available on Netflix. Now, I recommend this to anybody who wants to watch a rattling tale. It is a good rattling tale, fascinating science fiction. But I recommend it, even if you don't watch the whole thing, that you watch the first 10 minutes, because I've never seen such a realistic recreation of a Maoist struggle session. And we all know how important understanding what those are is to our movement today. So 3-Body Problem specifically for that Maoist struggle at the beginning, but nevertheless also a very entertaining watch, a really good series. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So it's nice to have a series that's got a bit of brains about it and you have to think about. That was really good. So that's the other recommendation there. I've now got, I think, one more left. So let's go for one more. This one is only for those of a strong stomach. This is some dark stuff, I tell you. And it's called Long Legs. Right? Now, Nicolas Cage plays an androgynous character. We're not sure what the character is, right? It's just an androgynous, really strange character who encourages others to murder on his behalf. It's very telling. You can read it. It's so clear what it's saying. And to me, it's a cross between the brilliant Gallo-esque De Palma film Dressed to Kill and Jonathan Demme's instant classic Silence of the Lambs. It's in between those two things. But it understands the nature of gender as a contagion. It understands the nature of trans as a contagion. It understands the nature of the passing of lunatic ideas from the mentally unwell to the public. And that, for me, made it very interesting, even though, and I'm not kidding, it is extremely brutal. So once again, if you're a little bit fey, stay away. So there you go. Deadpool, Wolverine, Furiosa, Fallout, Civil War, The Plot to Kill Thatcher, 3-Body Problem, Wolf Hall, and Long Legs. Right? That'll keep you busy till the 2nd when I come back. Other than that, you have a fantastic new year. Let's keep going, folks. We've done the most amazing things, and there's still more to come. Don't forget that. We can get there. And I'm looking forward to be able to doing so myself and of course, with the help of many others. Happy New Year.